And so I wanted to bring this up because our guy Mike Gilbert says he doesn't care if Jimmy comes back. It's Purdy all the way. And I had a similar question for you. And this isn't about whether or not Jimmy comes back. If Jimmy comes back and he's 100% healthy, Kyle definitely has a decision to make. But my question to you is, if Jimmy was 100% healthy today and we get the Brock that we've seen for these several games, who do you think is the better fit for the 49ers offense?
I'll say this. I would feel much better about having Jimmy as quarterback 2 than Josh Johnson. So I but I think Jimmy, it would definitely be the backup. And I just think we gotta continue to rock and roll, man. We gotta
There you go.
continue to
I
rock
like
and
it.
roll.
I
He
like
is
it.
I really, I when I talk about the offensive line and pass protection, it just is it to me, I don't know if it's just me, but it just seems like his mobility
Yes.
takes a whole lot of pressure off of them to be perfect all the time, because you can just kind of move him out, and he's really slick in the pocket. I mean, you know he's able to he's kind of shifty and can kind of slide up and he can slide out, and all of that helps the offensive line, which a lot of people say sacks are a quarterback stat anyway. So if your quarterback is able to move and you know give himself a little more time to make plays, the offensive line loves that. So I would definitely stay with Brock if it were me.
I think if it was, if we're talking about the playoffs and both guys are 100%, I would probably lean Garoppolo slightly, but the worry is that if he does come back, he just doesn't have the reps, and then you don't want an ice cold quarterback coming in. He's probably not that guy to be able to just walk in without having played and throw dimes. He needs time to get warmed up. He needs time to adjust. And so I would, you probably do lean Brock into the playoffs like that. My worry with Brock, and I think everybody's worry with Brock, is just, the playoffs is just a little bit different. And Jimmy has not, he has not been the king of the mountain, but he has the experience of getting to an NFC title game. He has the experience of winning an NFC title game. And so that's the thing that Brock hasn't had. So that's sort of the unknown. But yeah, I mean, he's doing everything that you could have possibly wanted and more in these games so far. And kudos to him, man.
Well, I agree in that. I if you're gonna go Jimmy, it would be preferable if he's able to get a start or two heading into the playoffs.
Yes.
I don't think it's fair to him or any quarterback for them to be out for 4 weeks and then their first game back be a playoff game.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's I don't not and that has nothing to do with just Jimmy. I mean, obviously if you're the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes was out, he starts. But just your average quarterback, I think it's a lot to ask to come off the bench after a month and slide right into playoff football. I think that's a single elimination situation. And we even saw, when Jimmy came in for Trey, he played good in the relief role, but he struggled
Yeah.
the next two games after that, which is fair because he
Yeah.
he didn't have a training camp, and
And he was hurt.
so
He was hurt all
yes,
off season. Yeah.
so I while I give him a hard time sometimes, it was not it shouldn't have been unexpected that he would have it would take him a little bit of time to get it. And then plus back, I guess the main difference though is that you know I was talking to somebody about Trey and even Jimmy. Then what you have to also remember is that the offensive line and the offense just simply had not found a rhythm yet in those first 3 or 4 weeks. So that is something that Brock had an advantage over those two early in the season, is that, he kind of came into a situation where we were just starting to get rolling. We were integrating CMC, and, the offensive line was playing a lot more consistent, way more consistent than they were early in the season.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of a different situation. And maybe that would be, different for Jimmy as well. That if we're rolling and it's just about plugging him in, maybe it's a little, maybe that it's a little easier on him. But I still kind of believe in the hot hand. So
Yeah.
just, if it's not broke, why fix it now again? But if Brock is hurt, if you feel that he is, compromised in any way, and you feel that Jimmy is completely healthy, then I mean that's a conversation to have. But I mean, for him to be banged up, Brock has played pretty well, all things considered, with crack ribs and the oblique and all of
Yeah.
that. I mean, he's done a good job. He's done a good job, and I think he's kind of earned the right to continue to play. Like, I think today was big that it wasn't, he didn't start off great.
Yeah.
But he fought through it and had a really good second half. That's a good 'cause all of this, it's frustrating to me to hear people talk about him like he's like this finished product, and like he's not gonna. I mean, he's a young player, so at some point he's gonna struggle. And today he struggled
A
in the
little bit.
first
Yeah.
half,
Yeah.
and it was good to see him bounce back. So that's a learning experience for him. That's growth, and that he is a work in progress. That's what I caution people to remember, is that, he's not going to be 134 quarterback rating his whole career. And, so he's on a heater, and that's great, but we need to be cognizant that he's going to struggle sometimes, and we need to be okay with that.
That's why I kind of said, like, I almost embraced it, because I wanted to see how he would come out of that, and he came out of
Exactly.
it fantastically.
Really well. So I mean, that was a win for us, I think,
Uh,
as we continue to move forward.
he's got a little bit of baseball player in him too, because you see him, he gets out of stuff, and if he's got to drop an arm angle, he can drop an arm angle. He's creative, and one of the things that Jimmy is not is, if the play breaks down, it's got to throw it away, because there's just no other thing that we can do. So Brock does give you that. And I find it interesting that Shanahan trusts him with these plays, which leave him, if they bust, he's going to get crushed. They opened up the game with a dart to Ayuk, and had that play not worked out correctly, he was getting drilled and sacked immediately, because they left that. I think it was whatever defensive end was. They just left him, right there. So
He had to account for him.
he is trusting him with some of these plays where, if he's even a half of a second off of the play, like he could get drilled. And so Shanahan does trust him to make these decisions, really quick thinking stuff. And like I said, just the ability to be able to adjust your arm angle, not the stuff that Pat Mahomes can do at a super duper high level. Just the ability to have that is just another thing for the offense. So I thought that was good too.
One of his best plays, I thought, was that throwaway that he had in the second half, where he kind of pirouettes and gets himself in position to to be able to get it out of, to not only throw it away, but to keep from taking a shot. That was, he's just, I think that is his greatest strength, is that he has played a lot of football.
Yeah.
And he knows how to, get in and out of situations, feels comfortable getting in and out of situations. And like you say, Kyle really seems to trust him. So I think that's, I feel real comfortable with him.
There was one moment, and that play, Trent Green, for all the fumbling that he does with his English language, Trent Green, did mention that as good as that play was, when you have the kind of injuries that he does, that is kind of hard on the body. There was another moment where he scrambled, and he doesn't seem to be the slider yet. He looks to get that extra yard, where I was like, oh, you kind of dove head first there. I don't imagine that's great on those muscles there. So there is that thing too, because he's so young and he's so eager, that I just don't want him to get hurt, because I want him to be able to play at as high a level as possible without these little injuries